Hi everybody. So I have a sit-down video today that is basically my reset video for April, where I talk about general things and then share a couple of book reviews and some brief reading updates. My full reading update video for bi-weekly progress will be out next Thursday at 7. First of all, let's get into general habits that have impacted me lately. One thing that I think I need to cut back on is watching so many monthly wrap-up YouTube videos. I love getting book reviews from other people, but my TBR list is getting way too long and very difficult to complete by the end of the month, so I think I need to rein in how much I'm reading. Also, watching so many monthly wrap-up videos also impacts my budget, because if I see a book that I really like and want to buy, I go to the bookstore to buy it, and I can't do that anymore because I'm overspending on books, and in order to rein that in, I have decided to download the Cloud Library app to my desktop, to my laptop computer, and the books that I would buy at the bookstore that I'm influenced by the monthly wrap-up videos to purchase, I get from the library instead through Cloud Library. And some of the audiobooks I have been able to find have very long wait times, so I just might either borrow them for a friend or postpone reading them until the wait time for the audiobook goes down a little bit. What is making my TBR longer? Most the biggest TBR that it seems to be impacted by this is the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR, not the one I'm doing with Kathleen because we set that ahead of time, but the one that I set for myself because I'm always finding new lists on Instagram with book recommendations. The one I most recently found focuses on the book couples. So there's a book list for Luke and Lorelai, for example, and one for Chandler and Monica. So from that list, I was able to find the next buddy read that Matt and I are going to do for this month. It is called, I have it written down. Alive and Well. And then what I usually do for my TBR list to make the TBR list more manageable is set thematic TBRs for myself, and the thematic TBR for the spring and summer that I have set specifically for the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR are centered around certain Friends episodes. The first one is for Pride Month, which is centered around the episode, Season 2, Episode 11, The One with the Lesbian Wedding. For this thematic TBR, my books that I'm reading will be Dear Wendy, Fun Home, Garlic and a Witch, which was recommended to me by with Cindy, Most Ardently, which is a LGBTQ plus retelling of Pride and Prejudice that was recommended to me by Carrie Can Read, and The Magic Fish, which is a graphic novel that is centered around fairy tales and coming out as gay, which was also recommended to me by With Cindy. The Summer Beach Vibes TBR includes Beach Read by Emily Henry, Happy Place by Emily Henry, which are going to be rereads, Does It Hurt, which is a dark romance that is set on a pirate ship, that was recommended to me by Larry Reeves' friend Mariana. Montauk, which is a historical fiction book that is set on the same beach that they go to in season 4, episode 1 of Friends, the one with the jellyfish. Summer in the City, which was a recommendation that I got from Rachel Catherine in her monthly wrap-up video from, actually, maybe it was from her TBR video. It was either from her monthly wrap-up video from last month or for her TBR Dark Game video for April. The next book is The Summer of Broken Rules by K.L. Walther, which Sarah Caroli has reviewed in a previous video that she posted either last year or the year before. So I'm excited to read that one. That was actually on a list of book recommendations I found that is inspired by comfort shows, and this book was matched up with One Tree Hill. The last 2 books on this thematic TBR are, one was on that TBR, that book recommendations list I found on Instagram, The Summer Seekers, and this was for Under the Golden Girls. And Deanna Raybourne's new book, Kills Well with Others, which is a sequel to Killers of a Certain Age, is also going to be part of this list because it is a sequel to a 5-star read that I read last year. The last book on this thematic TBR is The Summer of Yes by Courtney Walsh, which I read last fall, and I gave 4.5 stars to. Courtney Walsh was a author that was introduced to me by Jess and Emmeline over at These Lyrics and Lines, and I have read 4 books by her. The Summer of Yes, The Happy Life of Isadora Bentley, My Lucky Charm, and I feel like there was another book by her that I read that I can't remember what it was. I have it written down in notes from previous videos that I don't have access to at the moment because it's not in that document that I'm in. And also on that list that I found based on TV show couples on Instagram, the books that I have put on my TBR that relate to Chandler and Monica are Fragile Sanctuary, which was recommended to me by Rachel Catherine, and Out with the Tide, which were on the reading list I found for Chandler and Monica, and I have never read books by either of these authors before, so I'm excited to read those. So now I'm going to get into ratings for books I recently read or in progress for a few books that are currently on the Friends and Gilmore Girls TBR. The first book was a reread from February that I read for Valentine's Day. It was Tessa Bailey's new release, Dreamgirl Drama, which is the 3rd book in the series with Fangirl Down. So I read this book on ebook in February when it first was released for Valentine's Day, and I DNF'd it, and I tried to read it again with getting a physical copy from the library. It's still a DNF. I think I am giving up on Tessa Bailey's books because they are too smutty for me. The only ones that I have really liked are It Happened One Summer, Hook, Line, and Sinker, and her Christmas release from last December, Window Shopping. Other than that, Fangirl Down was 3 stars. The Au Pair Affair, which I recently finished reading last week, was 3.5 stars. This book was 3 stars. 2.5 to 3. So yes, I think I am done with Tessa Bailey. The next book I wanted to talk about was Yours for the Taking by Gabrielle Korn. This book was recommended to me by Gabby Reads in one of her wrap-up videos. I think it was her February wrap-up. And it is a dystopian novel set in the not-too-distant future of 2050 when the world has been ravaged by global warming. And this gives a very heart-wrenching take on what would happen if global warming destroys our Earth. So I highly recommend this book. I don't remember what Gabby gave it for a rating, but I'm giving it 5 stars. So this is the fourth or fifth 5-star recommendations from Gabby. One of the most recent ones I read that was a recommendation by her was Wild Dark Shore from last month. The other one was Welcome to the Hyangdong Bookshop, which was from my February TBR, which I gave 5 stars to. The next book was recommended to me by These Lyrics and Lines in their spring recommendations video that came out a couple of weeks ago. And it is called Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. It's a book about witches that goes through the seasons. So there's a section that's set in the springtime. It starts in the autumn and then goes to the seasons from there. And I really love this author's writing. This is my 3rd book by her. I have also read The 13th Child, and there was another book I read by her last year that I really, really liked that the title escapes me right now. I have to look it up on my Goodreads. And I don't have that in front of me, unfortunately. But I will mention that in the video that I do next week. The next reread on my From Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR list with Kathleen is People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. So out of all the Emily Henry couples, I would probably rank Alex and Poppy kind of mid-ground. As I have mentioned in previous videos, when I have mentioned Emily Henry's books in tier ranking them, Miles and Daphne from Funny Story are top tier, followed by Win and Harriet from Happy Place, followed by Alex and Poppy, followed by Nora and Charlie from Book Lovers, and this tier ranking will be completed once I read her new release that comes out on the 22nd, Great Big Beautiful Life, which from what I've been hearing from other booktubers seems to be inspired by the song The Great American Dynasty by Taylor Swift, and also Taylor Jenkins Reid's books, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which is one of my favorite books by that author. The next book from my Manhattan to Stars Hollow TBR buddy read list with Kathleen is Emma of 83rd Street by Audrey Belezza and Emily Harding. And this book was recommended to me. Actually, I don't think I got it off a recommendations list. I think I just picked it up at the bookstore or on Amazon because it is a modern retelling of the Jane Austen book, Emma. And I really love this modern retelling of Emma. It is set in present-day New York City, and obviously the main character lives on 83rd Street, which is a really upscale, rich area of Manhattan, although I think Manhattan is all pretty much upscale. And this was reviewed by an author that I read last year. Her name is Sarah Hogel. I read her book, You Deserve Each Other, as part of my Taylor Swift coded TBR, which I gave 3.5 stars to. You Deserve Each Other is a book about a couple who's about to get married, who tries to break up their wedding and then falls back in love again. I gave that book 4.5, 3.5 to 4 stars. And for this book, I am currently on chapter 20. I am really liking it so far. This is a great modern retelling of Emma. The other main characters in this book are Nadine, who is Emma's neighbor, and George Knightley, who is another one of her neighbors, who I believe is the modern interpretation of not Mr. Darcy, that's Pride and Prejudice. I can't remember the name of the guy who is the male love interest in Emma. Can somebody leave that below? I am going to be rereading Emma. Me and Kathleen will be rereading Emma in July. And the reason why we are trying to get ahead of our Gilmore Girls TBR is because Emma is a really long book and we need the most time to dedicate to that book in July. So Emma of 83rd Street was on our June list. Bridget Jones' Diary by Helen Fielding is also another reread for me. I read this originally during Christmas time because it's a book about, I read it like at the end of December because that was closer to New Year's Eve, and this is a book about setting and keeping New Year's resolutions. And Kathleen and I will be doing a book to movie comparison of this book and the modern retelling movie version with Renee Zellweger that came out in the 1990s. So when I first read this book in December, I gave it 4 stars, and that rating is remaining the same. When I first read People We Meet on Vacation, I gave it 3.5 stars. That rating is remaining the same. Small Favors is 4.5 stars. And I think I can also look up the title of that other Erin and Craig book I read to give you my rating on that one. Let me... Google. Erin. Oops. Here we go. The other book that I read by Erin A. Craig last year was called House and Salt and Sorrow, which is a modern retelling of the fairy tale 12 Dancing Princesses, which is a fairy tale I have never heard of. And in my fairy tale TBR ranking, I believe I had that book in the 4-star category, which was, I forget the name of the tier ranking category, but anyway, so for Erin and Craig books, House of Salt and Sorrow was 4.5 stars. I still need to read House of Roots and Ruin. Small Favors was 4.5 stars, and the 13th the 13th Child was 4 stars. So basically all of Erin A. Craig's books have been 4-star ratings for me, which is pretty good. I can't wait to read House of Roots and Ruin later on this spring. So thank you for tuning in, and I will be back with a reading update video next Thursday at 7 p.m. On Sunday afternoon, Matt and I will be doing our March, early April entertainment review wrap-up, and I also will have a video out where I will be sharing recent fan fiction chapters for my Friends in Gilmore Girls TBR that I have been working on, and a recent fan fiction chapter of standalone fan fiction I wrote that is in the same universe as Uncle Chandler, I Love You, that is alternate relationship for Ross and Rachel. that is centered around Ross having proclivities towards cheating every single year with a new student after he dates Elizabeth in season 6, and the impacts it has on Rachel and Emma, and also my main character Jenny. So stay tuned for that video and the other videos I just mentioned. And as far as posting videos going forward, I will be posting videos every Thursday at 7, with the exception, okay. Until I start my job at Vertical Harvest next month, videos will be posted every Thursday at 7. Once my job starts, and I don't know an exact date for my job starting yet, but once my job starts, the videos will be posted on Saturdays at 1, with the exception of the weekend before Memorial Day, because I have the weekend of Memorial Day. That week, my video will be out at 7, as the rest of the videos will be before I start the job at Vertical Harvest, because we have Memorial Day plans on Saturday of Memorial Day weekend. So thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys Sunday and Thursday. Have a good week.